I'm Naomi Stockman from My Local Hypnosis. Do you or anyone you know suffer from anxiety or depression? 1 in 3 people does, and it's crippling. It can cause life to feel really overwhelming, really difficult, really challenging. Affects everything: your work, your family, your relationships, your friendships, the way you feel about yourself, and most importantly, the things that you say to yourself, about the world. Typically, treatment for anxiety and depression through doctors and psychologists involves taking medication to change those unbalanced brain chemicals and visiting psychologists week in, week out to discuss the problems, the issues that are causing the depression and the anxiety. And typically when I see somebody, their history would be that they've been suffering for depression for many years, and even though there is some relief from taking those medications, and possibly there's some changes made through the therapies that they might have accessed, there's not a huge change in the level of their experience of the world and of life. And that depression and anxiety is like a monkey on their back, just weighing them down, and something that they have to cope with on an ongoing basis, and it just doesn't need to be like that. Hypnosis is a safe and effective treatment for depression, for anxiety. Hypnosis can go to the core of the problem, the start of the problem, the reason for the depression and the anxiety, which is typically something that's buried deep in the unconscious mind, a belief about how safe the world is, a belief about the self, a belief about other people. Who am I? Who am I, and do I matter? Do I belong? Do I fit in? Am I loved? Am I wanted? Am I safe? Medication through the doctor changes the brain chemicals, but those brain chemicals can be changed by changing the precursors to serotonin. So that can be done through nutrition, and also by reducing the amount of cortisol that the body releases. So every time the body releases cortisol, it also takes up all the nutrients that are needed for us to have those good feelings, even for sleeping. So typically with anxiety and depression, there will also be other issues, insomnia, perhaps alcohol abuse, because there's a cycle, and that cycle is that when your body can't make, say, melatonin, you can't relax, you can't sleep. The cortisol is in your blood, the adrenaline's in your blood, it's keeping you awake. I need to stay awake and alert so that I am safe, so that I can survive. And the mind doesn't rest, it stays busy, keeps chattering, keeps you awake, and you lay there. And that can only go on for so long before sheer exhaustion takes you down. And those feelings of being tired, being run down, and exhausted, on top of the depression, on top of the anxiety, it's like a cycle. And then often people turn to other things, and perhaps they've been to the doctor, they've got sleep medication, they've got anxiety and depression, antidepressant medication, and then from that they might add, half a bottle of wine of an evening to try and just get some sleep. And it just doesn't need to be like that. I'm a TRTP therapist. That's the Richard's Trauma Process. It's a 3 to 5 session program that can be done safely and effectively in a clinic with me, or over a Skype or a Zoom session. And that process is able to take the emotional charge out of past events that you may not even be aware is there, the cause of the depression, the cause of the anxiety. And a lot of times people say, I don't have any emotionally distressing events, I haven't been through any trauma. But everybody has been through trauma. If you're alive and you're walking around, you've had trauma, whether it was when you were 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, any age, could be just last year, it could be any time. Those things are there, and the reason that they're still there is because when an event happens, The brain releases the stress chemicals. All that cortisol rushes through the body so that you can survive. And at that time, it shuts down all your logical thinking. And as it shuts down your logical thinking, it turns your cells on. So they're in a hyper alert state. And if those cells aren't turned back off and the unconscious mind doesn't know that that event is now over and you're safe now, then that will just keep looping underneath while you're walking around thinking of other things. Those events are keeping on looping underneath and releasing those chemical hormones into your body that keep you from feeling that calm, that balance, that feeling good. And for us to go through the hypnotic process and just turn those things back off gives people such huge relief. And when I take a client on, in the first session, I do a depression, anxiety, stress test, and we do a score. And typically after 3 to 5 sessions, that score on 90% of the clients is right down in a very low normal brackets. So the process is clinically tested and trialed, and they're doing long-term follow-up on clients who've had the process with therapists and having good results, indicating that once you've done this process that it is sustained, the results are sustained long-term, and it just keeps getting better and better. If you know someone with anxiety or depression, or you yourself are suffering anxiety and depression, reach out, let me know how I can help you, and I'd love to take you through this process. All right, have a great day. Chat soon.